welcome to episode 13 of Muse. And today I'm actually very excited. I've only just recently met Nur Peach, and she's studying at the University of Auckland doing the popular music degree, which is what I did when back in 2009. And she's friends with Jenny Smith, who I taught at Waiku College. And I figured it would be really cool to get someone else again from the university degree to come talk about writing songs, because to be fair, as a student, it's learning how to write a song is, if you've never done it before, it's always good to hear from how other people did it. So Nor, welcome to our show. How are you doing?
I'm great, thanks.
Excellent. And we normally start with just asking you a little bit about your musical history, like, how you got involved in music, and when did you start to realize that you were writing songs, and it's all you, man.
So, so I grew up in a really musical family. My dad was a professional musician, and basically, my childhood was basically steeped in music.
Good.
I just was inescapable. I been singing basically ever since I could talk, and like I was like basically always like coming up with like stuff since I could talk too, but like what I consider to be my first official song. Like I have no idea why I decided that this was my first official song, but to this day I still consider it my
Yeah.
first song.
And do you have it on
Is
paper somewhere still? Did you write it on
Yep,
paper?
yes. I wrote it when I was 5
Nice.
and it's very short and the lyrics make no sense, but yeah, it's my first song.
Well, that's for somebody else to comprehend. There's many songs out there when somebody hears the lyrics, they're like, I don't actually know what it's about. And then they'll be walking their dog, listening to it, and then they'll stop and they'll be like, oh, I totally understand what that song is about now. And the lyricist will be
Ooh,
like, I don't know if I knew what it was about, but okay, cool.
yeah, that's definitely something I very strongly what's the word?
Agree
What's
with,
the word?
resonate
Oh god,
with.
resonate with.
Cool.
Yes, definitely. It's like one of my really strong convictions. I have like a lot of music related convictions, and one of them is that um, I very strongly believe that while the artist's um, idea of what the song is about is very valid, it's not the only valid interpretation of what the song is about.
It's a very good point.
So definitely, like someone who like hears, I don't think anyone's ever going to hear it, but if someone happens to hear it and like hear the lyric, somehow found some deep meaning in it, then good for them. Like it can be about that for them, because music's to me like music's completely subjective.
Hmm.
So what it's about and what it brings up for people is also completely subjective because everyone's got their own set of life experiences. We're all different, all the same, and so everyone's music is all different, all the same, and it's going to touch everyone in a different way. Some music's going to touch some people, and some's going to touch other people. And
Yeah, man.
yeah,
Like, there's kids that come into my department at school and they'll be like, "Sir, yo, check this song out," and they'll play it and I'll listen to it. I'm like, yeah,
doesn't do anything for me.
no. But you know what? At the end of the day, they really enjoy it. They're getting something out of it, and it enhances
Yeah,
their lives.
and it speaks to them, it resonates with them, and that's what matters. Just because it doesn't resonate with you doesn't mean it's a worthless piece of art. There's no such thing.
Correct. That's right. That's right. So when you got to high school, if you started writing songs when you were 5, then you must have come into school, at that age with a bit of knowledge and practice into writing. And so, do you think that your songs had developed to like a higher level? Well, they must have. But what I'm trying to get at is like, do you feel that at that level you were able to start really thinking more about the craft of writing songs, how you were structuring them, and how you were developing melodies and lyrics and ideas and things like that?
Hmm. Well, God, like that question's a tricky one because on one hand, like I try not to do much thinking when I'm writing because I feel like it gets in the way of the creative process. And for me, I mean, this, I'm not sure whether or not this is even helpful to other songwriters, but for me, like when like inspiration comes and it's just pure and beautiful, it just comes and like there's no filter and stuff. And as soon as like my brain kicks in and I start thinking about it, thinking, oh, how can I finish this? How can I finish this? That's when it kind of goes downhill, and you know that you can't finish the song to the best that the song could be.
Hmm.
And so I don't. I mean, like I very since I was quite, well, not when I was five, obviously, but since I was like relatively young, I had like an inherent understanding of like the verse, basic like verse chorus structure. And so I definitely started to develop along those lines without even like trying to. It's just kind of like inbuilt because that was what you were hearing all the time.
Yeah, well, that's why language and accent is kind of like a uh, it explains what you've just said, right? So, like, if someone grows up in a particular country when they're still absorbing information and it's shaping the way that they think and they talk,
Yeah.
they don't lose that accent when they get older because it's just ingrained in them. So, what sort of music then were you listening to that kind of would have shaped and influenced the writing when you did get to high school and you started, really thinking about the craft of songwriting?
Oh, yes, this story. Yeah, I love to tell this story. So when like when I actually homeschooled for a long time and I only went to high school when I was 14, like at the end of when I was 14, so I was almost 15, like at the end of year 10. And like up until I was 15, no, up until I was 16, I didn't really listen to that much music and I didn't really know that many artists, even though I didn't really listen much. I just absorbed whatever came, and some of it I liked, some of it I didn't. But and I would like choose favorite artists sometimes, and I choose favorite songs, but I wouldn't really go and listen to them over and over again. But then when I was 16, actually no, when I was about to turn 16, because it was New Year's Day that 2017 when I discovered them. Like that was when like my biggest influence, probably my biggest influence, like other than my dad, obviously, like came along and basically changed my life and changed how I wrote. Because like before then, because like they're called Bird Talker and they're a band, an indie folk band from Nashville. They write a lot of very like positive, kind of uplifting, inspirational kind of lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And like my dad did that too, but I don't know for some reason the fact that he did that never really got to me in the same way until after they did it, which was funny enough. But the but so I grew up for some reason I didn't realize even though like I'd had a couple of songs that were like maybe environmental or positive or whatever. Um, I didn't really realize that I could write songs about that until I discovered this band. And before that, I was just, I think I was trying to fit in a lot with my songwriting and my voice and everything. Like I was trying to fit like the pop girl stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would like, because I have like a naturally like deep voice for a female, I would like try and change it so that not very successfully, so that it would fit like the high light breathy stereotype. And I was writing songs, like a lot of the songs that I wrote back then didn't mean anything at all, but like I was writing quite a lot of love songs, even though I'd never been in a relationship and still have never been in a relationship. So just because I thought that was what you had to write about.
Yeah.
And then I discovered this band and I'm like, I want to write songs like this. I want to write these positive, uplifting songs. And it took a while to figure out how to do it. But then I finally figured out how to do it. And it finally just wrote, like when I first discovered them, I felt bad about my own writing because I thought it was too poppy and not good enough. And then all of a sudden something happened and all of a sudden I was just writing all this heartfelt songs that did kind of like have that inspirational vein that I was so inspired by them. And I was like, ever since then, like I was like, it was their thing. I was like, I want to make that my thing too. And now that's my thing. And I'm just so pleased that that's my thing now because I love it. Like I like writing inspirational, positive, uplifting lyrics. That's my thing now as well as their thing.
Yeah. And you know what? We actually talked about this before we started recording, and I want to bring it up again. And that is like with songwriting, one of the hardest things that, as a songwriter is kind of is the whole idea of validation. So when you're writing music and it's coming out of this place, this what you explained before, like it kind of just feels like it comes out of the ether
The
or just
ether.
yeah,
Yeah.
right? And then you kind of capture it like lightning in a bottle. And then then it
I like
feels
that.
so good at the time, and you feel this like
Yes.
connection. And
Yes.
there's different
If it's a good
buzzwords
one,
for it, like
if
flow is like one of the
inspiration.
words.
Inspiration.
Yeah, And then you,
I'm the one who's known to say, oh, I was so inspired.
yeah, and then you play it to
Yeah,
somebody, and then you play that song that you love, and then there's, like,
they have an opinion.
yeah. And so one of the hardest things, nor with songwriting, is that concept of validation, which is that you will write a
Mm.
song that you really, really love, and then you kind of
Yeah.
need to question whether or not you're writing it for yourself or if you're writing it for somebody else's approval. And that's a very interesting concept of songwriting, because at the end of the day, it's your child, essentially. And then
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong, there's nothing worse in some people's minds, and it's true, when you present it to somebody and they just don't get it. And then but that's just a normal process in songwriting that people
Mm.
experience and then learn how to deal with, right? What do you think about that?
Yeah. Sometimes I don't really know whether I'm doing it completely for myself or whether it's partly for someone else's approval. Because
Sure.
when I feel strongly that a song resonates with me personally that I've written, because some songs that I write just don't. Like even though I wrote them, they just don't do anything for me. And there'll be the ones that are just that I write will just really touch me. So it's like the same as in like if it was a different artist. And but the ones that I write that really resonate with me, I definitely can feel that connection.
Mm.
But sometimes I even worry if it's not still not completely for me.
Yeah,
And
and
like
but that's okay, right?
yeah,
And that's one of the things that, like, as a student who's writing songs at school, or especially for an assignment, like we have three levels at
yeah,
school, and your job is to write songs for an assignment, and then though you get marked on that at school as well, just like you did, like we did at the pop course. Um, so
yeah,
so the thing
like
is
yeah,
that like that's just part of the process, and there's nothing wrong with with writing music, and regardless if it gets marked or not, when you feel strongly about a song, I find anyway, and it resonates with you, then to me it kind of you kind of learn how to just not worry if it doesn't resonate with somebody else, because if you're trying to write to impress somebody else, you're kind of not being true to yourself. But there are
mm,
times when you need to write for somebody else.
yeah. Yeah, that's like a hard one because I have had like songs that I've written that it's just been so like when I've written them it's just been so inspired and it just comes in like a flash of inspiration like more like we're talking about before like the what was the quote used lightning in a bottle or
Lightning in a
something.
bottle.
And it just all of a sudden like oh my god I'm so blessed to have been gifted this. And then some people just won't get them. I've had this experience in the past where people have just not got my songs that I felt so passionate about, and it hurts. And some of these instances I've even cried.
Hmm.
And
That's normal.
yeah,
And you know
even
what?
though they feel true to me, I'm still seeking that validation with them.
Yeah, and
And
I'm going to jump in here
yeah,
just quickly to point out that I never really liked, people are going to slander me for this, but I never really liked Ed Sheeran when he first came out. I didn't really kind of get him.
mm,
And then
right.
someone kind of, they said, because I used to I'd listen to the A Team on the radio, and I should have been more accepting of it. And at first I was like, oh, this song is terrible. I'll just turn it off. It's like, it's just the same four chords everyone uses in their songs. And my friend said to me, he was like, have you actually like read those lyrics and listened to the song? And I was like, no, I haven't. I've always turned it off. So I went back and I read it. And then I started to understand that it's actually like,
Oh,
have you know the song I'm talking about? A
oh
Team?
yeah, the 18. That's a beautiful song,
Yeah, yeah.
I think.
So again,
Yeah.
there'll be like, so there's an example of somebody that's being me, didn't like the song, and so in his case, he probably, if he was performing it to me and I told him that first time, he would have been like, oh man, he doesn't get it. But then later on, I did, and then I kind of like, and that's one of the beauties about being a songwriter, Noor, is that, is that you will write music and it feels so good at the time, and those places where
Yeah.
it comes from are such a beautiful experience. So,
Mm.
so I remember seeing you at. We discussed this before we started recording. I'm confident it was the end of your first year at university, at the performance
Uh-huh.
evening, and I remember you standing up on stage. I don't believe you had a guitar. I think you stood there as a vocalist with your band
Oh yeah.
around you. Yeah,
That was a big deal for me,
I
honestly.
really enjoyed it. I do remember now, like I had a medical event that happened last year that's kind of taken some of my memories away, some, details, but
Mm.
I absolutely remember that
Yeah,
performance and being
well,
transfixed. Yeah.
oh, wow, really?
Yeah, I mean, I love it watching, and this is why I'm such a big advocate for songwriting, is I love seeing students and performers, like, they go into that zone that you've talked about throughout this interview, right?
Yes,
And we get to see
yes.
you there, and then we get to connect with you there, and then at the end of it, everyone kind of is like, oh,
That's what it's all about.
did you feel that?
That's
That's what it's all about.
mm, it's all music is all about is literally all about the connection. To me, it's not about anything else. It's not about the chords. It's not about who's singing. It's not about the words. It's not about anything except the connection.
Yeah. Do you reckon that music has transformed your life because of like the ability to sit down with your guitar and a pen and like let your almost like your subconscious talk to
Mm.
you about what you're going through? Have you found
It's
that?
so therapeutic. Like I would not have survived 2020 if it wasn't for songwriting, straight up.
What happened in? No, I'm just kidding. COVID. It was 2020 is one of those years that's like. Uh, Apparently, I heard that if you hold the reset button on 2021, it shuts down and you can restart it. But I haven't found where the reset button is yet, so haven't been able to
Nice.
try it. Yeah. Um, Oh, that's good to hear, man. Look, I mean, it's been fascinating talking to you about how you've written songs and just to recap a couple of things about your personal experiences with writing something and then having somebody not necessarily get it, about how
Yeah,
how you grew up playing music and writing a song at 5 and then also to go into because you study at the University of Auckland at this current stage as the
yeah,
pop degree.
yeah.
So because of that, the last question I always ask is if you could give me 3 words of advice that you're going to tell students that you believe are important to songwriting and to music. What are 3 words that you would say if someone asked you, what are 3 words of advice that you would give me if I wanted to be a songwriter? What would those 3 words be? We don't need any
Oh my
explanation.
God. Like three literal words?
Yeah, man.
Or like three pieces of advice.
Three words only, and the advice will come from those people who are listening are going to take those words away and see if they can dig deeper and find out exactly what you mean. It becomes the title of your episode.
I just thought of one and then I thought of another one.
Just whatever comes out of your head, you got to do it.
Just do you.
Just perfect. Just do you. See, that's it. That's it. That's perfect. That's a perfect way to finish, Nor. Thank you so much for sitting down and having a conversation with me about music and your experience with songwriting and what it means to you.
Thank you.
No problems. And I will
I really enjoyed this.
Oh, that's good. That's great. And I will send you a link and you can have a look at it. And for those that are
Yeah.
watching and finalizing it, make sure you like and subscribe and keep up, and we'll hear from more people so that you can learn from them. Until next time, we'll see you later.